Hi there, Alex here from the True Faith Newcastle United podcast. Brentford under 23s, Brentford B, Brentford Reserves 1, Newcastle United 0 in a result and a performance which no one didn't expect. I think that was, let's straighten my camera up here, that was exactly how every single Newcastle fan I know thought the game would go. Always have to start off these things by saying well done to Brentford. I'm sick of saying well done to Brentford, well done to Fulham, well done to Leeds. I thought West Brom were good. I thought West Brom were better than us at St James's Park and they sacked the manager after that. Newcastle United make teams look good. Brentford were 100 times less bothered about this fixture than Newcastle United. This was the biggest game of Newcastle's season. I don't believe it'll be the biggest game of Brentford's season. In fact, I know it's not the biggest game of Brentford's season because they've got a semi-final to look forward to. That was the biggest game of Steve Bruce's managerial career at Newcastle so far, and he failed comprehensively. And I'm bored of watching the team, bored of watching the match. I'm sick of looking through Twitter rather than watching the game. I'm sick of looking at WhatsApp rather than watching the game because there's just nothing to watch. There's nothing there. There's nothing to get excited about. The odd attack, the odd Callum Wilson chance, the odd shot from outside the box, and wave after wave of opposition attack. And it doesn't matter whether it's League 2 Newport or Championship Blackburn or League 1 Rochdale. Newcastle United are dominated by teams because of the manager and the coaching staff. And there is simply no case to be made, in my opinion, that he should continue as Newcastle United manager, and we'll have 3 games now which we will lose against some good teams, Manchester City, Liverpool and Leicester, and then we have Arsenal in the Cup, and I think Newcastle United would lose all 4 of those games. I thought we'd lose tonight. I did a preview podcast with a Brentford podcast called Be Sorted. Very good conversation, great podcast, and I thought Newcastle would lose 3-0. I revised that down when I saw Brentford basically put out a shadow side, and Brentford were worthy winners once again. And I've come to realise more and more I've lamented team selection, formation, tactics. It's not about that. It helps, but it's not about that. It's not about playing Miguel Almiron behind the striker where he should play. It's not about dropping Joe Linton. That again helps. It's not about Dwight Gale or Andy Carroll or John Joe Shelby or Isaac Hayden or Matty Longstaff. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that ASM's injured, Jamel Lascelles injured. Yeah, it doesn't help, but ultimately the issue is that 10 years ago, journalists wrote that Steve Bruce and the Premier League had passed him by. And 10 years ago, he had a massive job in the northeast of England, or massive at the time, at Sunderland Football Club, and he couldn't keep up with the modern game. Since then, he brought Hull up and took them down, and that's pretty much it. And failed at Aston Villa comprehensively with the Championship's biggest ever budget. So what we see each week, it's I'm guilty of it myself, talking about players, tactics. It's not the issue. Steve Bruce is the issue. He's incapable of managing a Premier League club to any kind of decent level. I thought he was hugely lucky last season, and I think he's been hugely lucky this season. But 18 points from 13 games is about to turn into 18 points from 16 games, most likely. And I'd still love to be proven wrong about him. And you saw tonight, just like you saw against Fulham, just like you saw against West Brom, even just like you saw against Leeds, you saw a really well drilled, coached side with a plan and an identity relentlessly walk through this mismatch of players who train together but look like they can't play together, who get worse every single week, who look like a shadow of the team that was collectively greater than the sum of its parts under the previous manager, now looks far weaker than the sum of its parts under this manager. And there's a good team there. I think there's the makings of a top 10 side if everyone remains fit this season. And on the whole, apart from COVID, there hasn't been the injury crisis that we've seen previous seasons, yet we still continue to regress as a side. So it's hard to take, but it's not unexpected. And I don't really know where he goes from here. I think it's already been a particularly unpleasant season, but I think it's going to get worse from here. I think, we'll lose the next 3, 4, 5, 6 games, might pick up a draw, might steal a win when we play Sheffield United or someone like that. and it might be just enough to keep our heads above the relegation zone. But that gap is shrinking and has been shrinking for a while. So yeah, very, very disappointing performance, but more disappointing than the result to me is the fact that every single Newcastle fan I know saw that result and that performance coming in, and is a football fan, particularly with things the way they are at the minute. A quarter-final against lower league opposition who play a weakened team should be something to look forward to, something to enthuse you, something to excite you. And I approached this game tonight with trepidation, and I think every Newcastle United fan, or most Newcastle United fans, did the same. And that probably says more than any single result or single game or single chance missed or single penalty not given can do. And it's not going to get any better. I've said this before on the podcast. There isn't some training session around the corner where this all clips. There isn't some signing that makes it all better. There isn't a transfer window that fixes things. Like, no, this is it. This is us. You saw at Aston Villa. You saw at Sunderland under Steve Bruce. Eventually the players will stop playing for that. I personally believe the players have already stopped playing for him. And it's a question of if, it's a question of when, not if he'll be sacked. And the longer it goes on, the more toxic it becomes, and it can't be nice for him, for Steve Bruce, but he doesn't have fans in grounds. I imagine there'll be one or two things done by some supporters in the near future to get the message across in a safe way. And, to me, Steve Bruce has been already planting the seeds for his departure, talking about how difficult the job is, difficult the club is to manage, all that kind of bullshit. So, yeah, it's done for me. There's no coming back. He's lost the fans. I think the fans, a lot of people I know, myself included, we didn't agree with his appointment, but we stuck with him. We sang his name at Sheffield United last year. We got behind the team. Thousands went to Norwich, his first away game, and saw one of the worst performances in a long time, and people still stuck with him. Never turned on him. All the cliches, all the stereotypes have proven wrong. It's done though. He's done at Newcastle United for me. I've always said I'd love him to prove me wrong. There's always been a chance, there's always been time. It's not going to happen. It's done. He is done at Newcastle United. It's just how much damage he does along the way. And if he genuinely cared about this football club, he'd recognise that he's doing far more harm than good. I don't think he'll resign. I don't think he'll get sacked. So probably be more videos like this in the coming months. Something for everyone to look forward to. And yeah, Steve Bruce has got to go as Newcastle United manager. And I think 99.9% of rational Newcastle United fans believe the same. I wish it wasn't so. I wish we were a good team, but we're not. Steve Bruce needs to go.